Hello, Year 8, and welcome to the final lesson on what issues are faced by growing cities. So today you're going to be making a decision about which of three options I'm going to give you is the best for improving Daravi and making it a more sustainable place. In order to do that, I'm also going to do a quick recap of learning so far. So in this lesson, we're going to be focused on Dharavi, which is in Mumbai in India. The green triangle shows where India is surrounded by the Indian Ocean and quite a distance away from the UK with the red triangle. So looking at India more closely, you can see that Mumbai is on the west coast of the country. It's one of the more densely populated urban areas. And you've got to think about all the areas which are not marked on this map will tend to be rural areas, so countryside areas. We've looked briefly at the start of this topic at how there's a lot of people migrating from the rural countryside where there's a lot of push factors, things pushing people away, such as lack of jobs and good quality paying jobs. Perhaps there might be a lack of food. There's not much to do, not much sort of nightlife or entertainment. There's likely to be less access to education, to clean water, to healthcare. And so lots of people want to move away from those areas, lots of push factors. And you've got the pull factors of the bright lights of Mumbai. People have sort of the promise, I suppose, of getting a job which pays more, of having better healthcare, perhaps clean water, decent education. So they're pull factors bringing people towards the cities, such as Mumbai. So once all of these people have come to the city, remember in developing countries, the cities are growing so rapidly due to all the reasons mentioned, that one of the key problems is that they can't build enough houses and they don't really have enough space for all of these people. So you get ever growing cities, but then because there's not enough houses, people get to the outskirts or marginal land, so often on rubbish dumps or next to rivers that are likely to flood, or on steep land, they build their own houses. In Dharavi, it was built mostly on a rubbish dump, and it was built on top of that and turned into a sort of vibrant area of the city. However, you can see it looks a bit like this, and you can see that it's probably a bit of an eyesore. So, a lot of people within the city will see it as an eyesore and something that sort of brings down the reputation of the city, and something to be solved. Now, we're going to be looking at several different options of ways in which it could be made more sustainable, and you're going to be choosing which one is the best. So this slide just wants to look a little bit closer into Dharavi. So on first sight, you might look at an image like the one in the top left and think that Dharavi is a disgusting place with high levels of pollution. It's very unhealthy, has lots of diseases, and is a very undesirable place to live. However, it's not as simple as that. The area makes a huge amount of money. You can notice on the positives and negatives that I've put at the bottom, these are some facts that you might come back to, but you should have them in your notes as well. So it generates £350 million a year through lots of thousands of different small businesses in single rooms doing all kinds of things. So it's really important to the economy of Mumbai. They also recycle 80% of Mumbai's waste. So Mumbai is not a place that you really want to get rid of at all. It's doing wonderful things, it's doing amazing things in such a small area. So it would be hard to replicate that using a planned development. It also has a very strong sense of community. And families will live in multi-generational houses, so you'll have children with parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents all living together as one, and they have a great sense of community and use of communal areas. So people are generally really happy. So it's very socially sustainable in many ways. However, it's hard to get around the fact that there are 4,000 cases of disease a day, and only 24% have access to safe drinking water. It's all tightly packed. It's not the best if you was to get ill and you needed an ambulance. you wouldn't be getting an ambulance down here, or if there was a fire, this fire could easily spread and it'd be hard to stop it. However, if you look at the picture on the right, so when these slums have been around for decades, over time people have improved them and made small incremental improvements, so improving little bit by little bit, and you can see they turn into fairly wonderful places. Now you even get tourists going around Dharawee, so they'll get a guide from within Dharawee who will show them around and show them what the area is like. Now like me personally, I would love to go on and visit and see just how people have created such an interesting community there. However, there are ethical sort of issues behind that, and it's something to think of carefully about. However, I just don't want you to think that Dharawee is a completely disgusting place. There is sort of positives and negatives about it. So we're now going to pretend that you've been given the responsibility of dealing with the issues surrounding Dharawee. Now you've been presented with 3 options and you're going to choose which is the best. So option 1, the government should use taxes raised by the richer areas of the city to improve the slum. Improvements would include providing clean water and electricity, as well as improving access to healthcare and providing safer materials for residents to make improvements to their homes. Option 2, the homes are built on land that isn't technically owned by the people who live there, and the people generally work in the informal sector, so don't pay taxes. Therefore, they should be kicked off the land, and the land should be sold to the highest bidders to develop. The people that are kicked off the land would then have to find a new place to live. Option 3, set up a site and service scheme like the ones you've seen in Curitiba. Dharawee should be knocked down and provide land for new developments and parks in the centre of the city. Some people will be given jobs to help build small houses on the outskirts of the city. The area will be provided with electricity and clean water. It will also have public transport. However, it will be 90 minutes from the city centre, and people won't have a choice of whether or not they are allowed to stay in Dharawee or move. So these are the 3 potential options. You're going to be choosing which is the best. Think about whether it's best socially, economically, and environmentally. So just to introduce the task, this is the main task that you need to submit to your teacher. So you've got those 3 options, and you're going to write a report to cover why are cities in developing countries such as Mumbai growing so rapidly? How does this lead to slums? Which option would you go for and why? In what ways is your option not sustainable? And in what ways are other options sustainable? And then an overall conclusion into which is the best option. If it was me, I would treat each of those 5 questions almost as like a paragraph to write in a section. Now remember, the best solutions are always sustainable solutions. So they meet people's social, that means to do with people, happiness and society, economic, to do with money and jobs, and environmental needs. So you're meeting all of those 3 needs, and they do not create future problems for the future. So if you're solving a problem but creating another problem in doing so, it's not a really sustainable solution. So it's probably not the best decision. Once you send this work in, it will be banded. The key thing we're looking at is for you to use lots of specific detail from previous lessons. You can use your book for notes. You can rewind a few slides if it helps you as well. You can try and include lots of things about sustainability. So C for sustainability. Talk about social, how it's socially sustainable, economically and environmentally sustainable or unsustainable. Try and use those words in your answer. Writing full sentences, keywords, use keywords and paragraphs, not just writing one constant, one big long paragraph. And you describe and explain your points using connectives. So really clear answer is what we're looking for. So again, here's the task for you. You want to pause the video here to complete. Once you've done it, if you've got me, so Mr. Aldred, send me your work on your private channel on Teams, in your Teams group. If you've got Miss Ball or Miss Pollard or Mr. Byrne, you might need, they'll probably tell you whether they want it on Teams or whether they want it on email or whether they want it posted on Satchel 1. They'll tell you during the lesson. Well done for completing this lesson once you've done it. Until next time, bye.